Hi, my name is Haynes, and I'm here in my studio to show you the SmartAV Tango console. In this video, we'll look at some of the more advanced functionality of programming commands behind the edit panel soft buttons, as well as programming commands behind the hard buttons, the macro buttons on the extension bay. We'll also look at some of the related functionality on the transport section, as well as the active channel area, and see how it all works together as part of a seamless whole to not only have the Tango work as a mixing control surface, but also as a comprehensive and extremely versatile editing control surface as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. So you see there's a large array of commands that are available for any particular panel. You have, of course, the individual functions that are available through the SDK or through the API. And many of those correlate directly to menus that are available in the program. So you can see, or maybe you can't, but there's the edit menu, there's the file menu. Those are menus that you can see on the program. But in certain cases, there are more groups than are available for menus on the program. And for those menus, there are many times more commands that are available through the remote command set than are actually exposed in the menu system. So here's an easy example of something that you would see directly on the program. I've selected the cut button that's here, and then here's the edit, and then the cut, which is exactly what you'll find inside the menu. You won't necessarily be able to go to a workspace menu and find workspaces in workspace 1, even though you can actually select workspace 1 through the window menu. So there's not always a direct correlation to what you're looking for. So in those circumstances where you want to find a particular thing or a particular function, you actually go back to Nuendo or Cubase and go to the file menu and then key commands, and it actually opens up all of the key commands that are available, which includes all the remote functions and actually a superset. There's actually more functions here than you can actually reach through the remote command set as it's currently configured. So I'm going to go in and type in monitor. So I noticed that the monitor command is under the edit panel. So I can actually set up a button that allows me to activate monitoring for a particular track directly from a key. So I'm going to set that up here. I'm going to type in monitor, make sure I spelled that right. I'm going to give it a color that's different than the other stuff that's around it. And now I'm going to change the mode. And you'll notice that I have not assigned at the top here, so I'm going to go to the edit menu, which is here. And now I'm going to go find monitor. I'm going to select change. And now I've locked in the monitor command for that particular position. There are other things that you can do as well, such as with these wheel-assisted functions, to change the context of the jog wheel such that you can use it for a variety of editing functions. Note in this example, we're doing the wheel volume command, which is two separate commands, one for increasing the volume and the other for decreasing the volume. You'll see the command here is for increase event volume, which is set to the right wheel. On the left wheel, when holding down the button, does a decrement event volume. And so you can go through the process of finding those remote commands. In some cases, you will see the labeling of those commands being a little counterintuitive, so sometimes the search function in the key commands window actually helps you quite a bit in terms of finding the way things are worded. So I've done the same thing for these positions across the macro buttons for the edit panel, and I also have two commands that I've set at the very bottom for positions 7 and 8, and those are two edit functions that are not wheel assisted, but because they're related and often used in the same context as those wheel related functions, I went ahead and added them to it. One of the nice things about this particular way of working is that you can take a command here and actually copy it to an area that you want to have available to you in the active channel area. So that when you're working, you're now, instead of having to pull up this panel and go specifically to a command, you now can actually take and either swap or push a command directly into a tab. Here's a good example. I'll go to the Edit tab, and now it changes the context and it shows you different things. And I have workspaces here, instead of in the default where I have the wheel-assisted functions. What I've done is I've taken those wheel-assisted functions and put them on the macro keys so that they're right next to the jog wheel. So I have everything right next to each other when I'm in edit mode, when I'm doing the editing stuff. Everything's in front of me where I can get to those functions immediately. So this is part of the power of working with the soft edit panels, as well as being able to reconfigure the hardware as it appears here along this particular panel. So when we're programming these soft areas, it actually corresponds to the hardware macro keys on the Tango extension bay. If you're a little confused as to what you're looking for when you're trying to figure out which button position you're trying to program, all you have to do is touch the hardware panel, and you'll actually see the button will turn gray and will also show you how the command is set up. So you'll see that this is set up for the transport menu and the to left locator. So you can very quickly figure out exactly how your buttons are configured depending upon the context of which tab that you're in. And just as I've done with other tabs, all the transport buttons are programmed to be exactly the same. Even in the edit context, it actually has been programmed to be the same. The only thing that's different are the configurations of the macro keys. Another nice feature of the Tango is the ability to actually program a button position to, or an edit panel position. I call them buttons, even though they're actually, graphics across a touchscreen. You can program this button, and in certain cases, the physical buttons, like the macro keys, to do more than send remote commands to the host. You can actually program those positions to change the context of the tabs for the edit panel, macro keys, as well as the soft assignable controls that are on the main unit. So you'll see here that I have a particular position here. It's just called transport tab. And what it does actually is I'm going to a different mode and changing the properties to tell that particular position when activated to go to tab 1. And that means tab 1 across all screens. That's across the main edit screen, as well as the active channel area right above the transport display, as well as the edit keys, which corresponds to all the macro buttons, as well as the transport panel. Edit tab, of course, is to go to 2, music tab is to go to 3, and post tab is to go to 4. And if you notice here across the edit panel is transport, edit, music, and post. Those are the first 4 tabs. The reason why I did that is because the active edit panel, of course, is the most immediate way to gain access to those functions that I use most often. It also allows me to do things like under this edit panel context, even here in the active edit panel, that changes. So if I'm actually here and not using a specific edit panel, I can actually change from the transport tab to the edit tab and actually be able to control things like assigning my workspace, opening the media bay, move to front, move to back commands, and then of course that also changes the context of the macro buttons to be wheel assisted functions so that I can be right here and activate a button and turn the wheel and make changes that way. So that wraps up our overview of programming the edit panels, physical controls, macro keys, and transport area of the SmartAV Tango. We hope you got a sense that the Tango is not only a comprehensive mix controller, but is also an extremely capable and versatile edit controller as well. For those of you that are not interested in programming your own remote commands or macros, we hope you also got something from this video, just from the fact that you'll be able to take what's provided by the factory for these panels that are already programmed and being able to move the commands around into an arrangement that's convenient for your workflow, just using the swap and copy commands without any additional programming. So we hope everyone got something from this. As usual, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.